our close friends and allies.
This is a very serious abuse of power. What we have here is the executive branch using the power of a U.S. intelligence agency to listen in on the private conversations of members of Congress.
The Wall Street Journal out with a blockbuster story today that the NSA, in the process of intercepting communications of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, also managed to scoop up some of the communications of members of the United States Congress. All this in advance of the nuclear deal with Iran that the U.S. and its P5+1 partners were working on at the time. In response to this Wall Street Journal story, the administration and the NSA issued a statement today which said, in part, quote, "We are not going to comment on any specific alleged intelligence activities. As a general matter, and as we have said previously, we do not conduct any foreign intelligence surveillance activities unless there is a specific and validated national security purpose. This applies to ordinary citizens and world leaders alike." Let's bring in the panel now. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Kirsten Powers, USA Today columnist, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Charles?
Well, first of all, it's not surprising that we spy on other leaders. What is surprising is that Obama announced publicly after the Merkel scandal that we will cease doing that to close allies. So apparently we did for close NATO allies, but apparently made just a few exceptions. One of them is the leader of Turkey, Erdogan, not exactly a savory character. The other was a close ally of democracy, an elected leader in Netanyahu. Now, you could understand that if there were reports that Israel might launch a preemptive attack in 2011 or 2012. That would perhaps be a national security reason, but this was not about that. This was long after Obama was reelected, long after it was obvious the Israelis were not going to conduct a surprise attack. This was about trying to get through the Congress the Iran agreement. That is not a validated, quote-unquote, national security purpose. This is a way to win a battle with Congress. And they knew that this was not something you're supposed to do. That's why there was no paper trail or request. What they did is they didn't demand it, and of course they didn't nix it, which is what they were supposed to do, knowing they would get lots of information, which they did. And that is, I think, a violation of the power of the executive interfering with legitimate activities and interactions of the Congress, and also of pro-advocates who would and should expect that the private communications on behalf of political advocacy is something that the government ought not to listen in on abuse, and that was done.